Hey guys, my name is Sophia Tang. I am the live streamer that runs the Waymo live stream over the lot here at Second and Folsom. Uh, I've sort of been doing this for maybe about two.
Oh, crap, sorry. Go again.
Um, hey, my name is Sophia Tang. I'm the live streamer that has been running the live stream here for this lot over at like Second and Folsom. And I've been doing this for maybe like a couple weeks now or so. I understand a lot of you guys have a lot of questions about what has been going on. Some of you might just like to watch. Some of you maybe are here for like the lo-fi beats. And some of you might even be like employees or something. And you might be watching this to tune in to what your directors have to say. Whatever might be the case, welcome. Really glad you're here, and we'll just get right into it. So to get everybody caught up, we started July 28th, the night of July 28th, where we first noticed like the honking and stuff on the Waymos in the lot. After investigation, basically, like we realized that Waymo had rented out the lot as like a new depot. The honking continued for maybe like a couple of, like I would say, weeks or so, and then it was addressed. And we've gone through like several fixes, but now we're here. We have Vishay. He is the director of product at Waymo. His team supports operations. Hey, thank you for being on the stream and talking with us. So let's start with why did this happen in the first place from the Waymo's perspective?
Sure thing. Happy to give a big explanation of what happened. I'm not sure if the audio stream caught this before, so I just wanted to start by saying, it's Waymo has every intention of being a. There was a bird crawl or something for the background there that I just picked up here.
Sorry, that was my cat.
Sorry about that. Okay, so what I was saying was, Waymo has every intention of being a good member of the community the communities in which we operate. And just wanted to apologize, obviously, for the honking. We're aware of the disturbance and sort of empathize with the with the noise disturbance that we cause. So really appreciate the opportunity to come out here on the live stream and talk to you about what happened in a pretty open and transparent way. And happy to answer any questions that you or the group watching the live stream has.
Yeah, so I guess let's start with how Waymo fixed it. I understand there's 3 patches that happened. One was we don't honk in the parking lot, and then the next one was don't honk in the cul-de-sac, or even don't even go in the cul-de-sac. And then the third one, I believe maybe it just rolled out like this morning or something.
Yeah, well, let me start with how things happened. I'll just kind of zoom out and kind of talk about the sort of 10,000 foot view for a second. So why do we have this feature in the first place? Well, obviously Waymo has been really focused on safety, and we've been very focused on public road deployment of the Waymo driver at scale. We have a pretty incredible track record that I think we're proud of, and we talk about a lot externally, so I won't kind of revisit all of that stuff. But what's interesting is we're now at a point where we actually see that a non-trivial percentage of the collisions that we see on road are due to other road user inattentiveness. So that could be somebody backing into us. It could be somebody rear-ending us. Wide variety of different types of things that could occur. And in an effort to just continue to pursue reductions in collision rates, even those that are, you could say are not at-fault collisions, we came up with this feature to honk and get the attention of other road users. And obviously, you can see how that makes sense on public roads. Where we didn't, where it had this unintended effect was in these parking lots. So, in parallel to that, we're sort of deploying the Waymo driver on public roads more, and we've also been scaling of supply and using these operational parking lots more and more. And really just kind of didn't anticipate what would happen when we have a bunch of Waymos that were in a Waymo-only parking lot. And so that's kind of what triggered the honking in the first place was, clearly it's not that useful to have one Waymo honk at another Waymo. And hence we needed to sort of disable that feature in parking lots. So that was the first step. We had a fix that allowed us, we have some ways to configure the behavior very quickly, and so we were able to sort of push out that fix to avoid the honking in that parking lot. The second issue you mentioned was that we are scaling up. So the honking issue aside, we're scaling up and we're using these depots more. And what we found was there was a case where it was possible for cars to route into the nearby alleyway. And of course, the fix that I just described was specific to the parking lots, but it's not applicable to public roads nearby. And so as we saw more of the cars route into that area, we saw a little bit more congestion. And again, Waymo's honking at Waymo's. So we're able to fix that. Again, we have ways of modifying sort of the routing of Waymo vehicles in the fleet. We pushed that out, and we were able to sort of control, reduce some of the congestion that was happening on that street, and therefore prevent some of the honking that was happening there. And then lastly, the third issue I think was that we have been experimenting with all kinds of different operational workflows. Just again, taking a step back, like we're at a place where we're trying to scale our service, right, and provide really great service to the customers that are really excited to use Waymo. We've seen a really awesome reception from San Francisco residents in general in the form of, just increased ridership, which has been really exciting. And I think you're a fan as well. You've had some, which has been really cool to see. I think a lot of people on the live stream also have been really excited to use Waymo.
Yeah, everybody on the live stream has been like, wow, like Waymo's, like all of these cars are just like driving themselves. Like this is incredible.
Yeah, maybe we get a little show of love on the live stream from the commenters if you've ridden a Waymo and you really enjoy it.
Live stream, do me proud.
Emoji.
So I just want to quickly talk about so these fixes, are they permanent, or did you like patch them and then think about like redoing them later, or?
It's a good question. I mean, they're definitely, it depends on what time scale you're talking about, right? Like I would really love to have the feature where Waymos can recognize other Waymos and maybe they have different behaviors with respect to those agents. I think it's really awesome. Like, so as a product manager, we're always thinking about what's the highest priority thing now. And so if I think about Waymo to Waymo interaction, really, I think that the mass, majority of vehicles on public roads are not Waymos. And yet we're at a point now where we've scaled up, and it's actually interesting to consider what are the different types of things that Waymos could do to interact with each other, and how much more efficient can driving be, how much more coordinated can the fleet of vehicles be when it makes sense to think about them in relation to each other.
So just to be clear, so sorry, they don't currently communicate with each other?
Not directly, not vehicle to vehicle, but obviously through the backend, there are ways for Waymos to share information about what they
so
see.
it's very roundabout. Okay.
In that sense, yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, maybe some sort of like near field communication kind of thing. Not specifically NFC, but like maybe ultra wideband or something could be something to think about.
Could be. I think right now we're like I said, we're really focused on public roads, interacting with other road users and making sure we're safe and compliant and providing comfortable rides for our riders. And then within the depot context or the parking lot context, really focused on sort of scaling up our supply operations. That's what my team is really focused on. Trying to make it as seamless as possible.
So related to that, I guess why specifically this lot? Like, is it close to the highway and like you're trying to do highway testing, or?
Yeah, so what's the best way to answer this? I guess I would say that like overall, we need a variety of different infrastructure to support the fleet. Clearly, we need depots that have vehicle maintenance facilities. We need depots that have charger facilities. And, to expound on those a little bit, there are times when the cars need maintenance. They have a pretty complicated set of hardware on them, and we need to make sure that that's maintained and so on. We need to make sure the base vehicle is maintained. So we have those types of depots. Then, the way that I would describe it is what really powers the engine of supply and allows us to get a large enough fleet out on the road is making sure that these cars are charged and that the routine operations that they go through multiple times a day can be executed as efficiently as possible. There's a lot of really cool work that's happening on charger workflows.
But there's no chargers in this lot.
That's right. So I'll come to that in a second. But basically the idea is like, we're really focused on automating those workflows. So you think about clearly the plugging and the unplugging of the charger port is a manual thing, but there's a lot of other workflows around that we've been really focused on automating. So things like, parking directly in a charger spot, or if that charger spot is unavailable, being able to park in a staging location and then transiting to that charger when it becomes available, and vice versa. Um, when the car is done charging and it's been unplugged, either go out into the field and launch if we need it in service, or move to a staging location where we can park.
Do you
Then
guys
there's
do like data offload, like when you go charge and cleaning and stuff?
yeah. Typically, what
Okay,
happens is like those kind of routine operations happen within that charging cycle.
got it.
But to come to
Okay.
this parking lot, just to answer your question, engine of supply, we put the supply out there. We have a lot of riders that are using the cars, but they're not full 100% of the time, of course.
Right.
And in those off times, they come to these off-hill parking lots,
Mm.
like the one at 352nd Street. They park there, and they wait for a hail. And when they get a hail, they just go and serve that hail or that trip.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting. Like when I look at the lot, it sort of feels like it's a clock a little bit of like how the city operates. It's like it sort of ebbs and wanes, and then you've got like the full lot, and then maybe like 10 minutes later, you're gonna have an empty lot like what we have right now.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely ebbs and flows, right? So like we're in ride hailing, and so I think most of our audience here will have a pretty solid understanding of what the sort of demand schedule looks like. It's not scheduled in that sense, but it is organic, and it is pretty consistent across what people are probably familiar with other manned ride hailing services. Um, so there are certainly ebbs and flows throughout the day, and yeah, I mean.
Okay, cool. Let's talk a little bit about like vehicle technicals. Do you guys, this is sort of like a lot question still, but do you guys simulate lot behavior like you do on road behavior?
It's a good question. So typically, we have a wide variety of mechanisms for simulation. So some
Mhm.
of the simulations that we run are more, call them scenario-based or individual vehicle from the perspective of the vehicle, how it responded over a certain amount of time. And then we do have more complicated large-scale simulations that allow us to do things like look at the fleet or overall routing behavior. So there's kind of a wide variety of different techniques. So short answer, yes. One of the things you asked me is like, what is the purpose of that 352nd Street lot? Is it near the highway? Is it for freeway testing? One of the really cool things that I'm excited to invest in is to understand what is the right distribution of infrastructure across our city. So, you can imagine that maintenance is better served outside of the city, which is very dense, where real estate can be very expensive. We need
Yes.
chargers where the distance to demand is relatively low. Similarly, we need these parking lots in the areas of high demand. And so we do have tools to allow us to kind of simulate and better understand like what type of infrastructure do we need where, how much infrastructure do we need, where should it be in the city, when will it be used, all those kinds of things. And
Okay.
yeah, I mean, these are really exciting things because we're at the scale where they really matter.
Okay. Uh, on the vehicle side, I understand you guys use like a lot of sensor fusion kind of thing. Like you've got Lidar, you've got radar, you've got like RGB cameras, uh, obviously GPS, and then you're mapping all of this, into software. Uh, how likely would the car perform well if you just teleported one into a brand new city that was not mapped?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think a lot of people have this question. Our technical approach is to develop a map in the first place, right? So we usually
Okay,
do that as an upfront step where we go and we build the map. And the way to think of that, one way to think about that map is to think of it as another sensor, right? It is just
sure.
an a priori sensor, pre-mapped sensor. And it adds an immense amount of value to just understanding what to expect in the world before, of course, we
Mhm.
do the real world driving task of looking and seeing what's really there and responding to that. So that's the way the system is designed. And yeah.
Okay. Well, here's a little bit more technical question. Bistatic coupling, for those who are not very familiar with the term, that basically just means like when two radar systems are looking at the same space, there might be like interference between the two radars, and they might get into like a situation called like running rabbits, which is basically like it's a runaway situation. So I'd be interested in like learning how you guys deal with something like that. where like multiple Waymos are in a lot, for example?
Yeah. To be totally honest with you, that's not my area of expertise.
Okay.
There are thankfully people way smarter than me that know how to sort through these types of issues. But just in the spirit of giving, the best answer I can, I know that we think very deeply about the interference that our sensors can have, and there's a lot of complexity there. Um, Again, not my area of expertise, but I know that people internally are deeply thinking about these types of issues.
Okay, that's fine. Hey, you can't know everything, right? Otherwise, you'd be the smartest person in the world. I'd like to pose maybe a little bit more lighthearted question. I think those of us in the chat have sort of seen like Waymos sort of going around the lot. And then when they
Yeah.
hit the entrance, instead of going out, they turn back around and go in a loop around the lot again. And then
Yeah.
that lasts for maybe like half an hour or so. What
Yeah.
exactly is happening is there?
Really, really boring answer for you on that one. It's actually trip cancellations. So
Oh, no way. Okay.
car may be waiting for a trip, gets a ride, cancels. That could be for any number of reasons. Maybe customer decides they don't want to ride, or maybe the ETA is high, or whatever. Unfortunately, that's one of the few things that is not super interesting about what's going on there.
Okay. I'd like to get your thoughts on like Lidar versus like foundational models.
Sure.
Why did Waymo go with like a Lidar radar sensor fusion kind of thing versus like a vision-based maybe foundational model?
Yeah, I mean it's a good question. I guess what I would say to start is that LiDAR provides immense value to the perception problem. And specifically, our particular LiDAR can see 300 meters, 360 degrees, 24/7. Human eyes and cameras generally don't have that level of performance. And the level of resolution that we're able to get out of LiDAR is mind-blowing. I'm sure you can go online and see sort of the white clouds and things like that.
Yeah.
Just the level of detail that you get from it is extremely valuable to the perception problem. But that's not to say that foundational models aren't interesting to us. We're very actively investing in foundational models. I just don't think that it's reality to think of any of these sort of foundational models as a be-all, end-all approach that someone will develop a model and instantly self-driving will be resolved. So, I mean, you're an engineer yourself. I think you can probably relate to that. There's a lot of work that goes into these things, and furthermore, LiDAR would be an awesome input to any kind of foundational model.
That's true.
So that's kind of our approach.
Yeah. No shade at anybody who might be watching who's building their companies off of a foundational model right now, but there you go. Yeah. Okay. Any thoughts on like when you eventually, I assume, begin testing in like New York where there's like snow and ice? I understand LiDAR, you can like denoise the input. Does that work so well in snow and ice?
I mean, high level, I guess to answer your question, like we're really excited to be in all of the major markets in the United States and abroad. Obviously, can't speak to specific timelines. We have done a fair amount of testing in different, in different environments. We have a road trip program. It's called like the road trip, where we take Waymo to different cities and we collect data and we test and so on. Obviously, with weather, that's a huge ODD or like a huge feature that we need to support in time. So we've done a lot of, different types of winter weather testing and different types of weather testing in general. And we're confident, I think, that our sensor suite will, and our overall Waymo driver will be able to handle winter weather. So yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of time.
Okay. I mean, that sounds promising. I'd love to be able to just get into a Waymo the same way I'd get into one here, like when I go to New York or something. I think we can move on to talking about like operations, which I understand is sort of your area of expertise. So can you speak a little to how like Waymo is optimizing costs, like in terms of operations, charging, maybe like if you have like time of use charges or like demand charges, any sort of tariffs that you're optimizing for?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at a high level, I guess we are very focused on optimizing cost. That is that's something that's like paramount at this point. We, historically we talk about scaling responsibly from a safety perspective, but I would add that we are scaling responsibility from a financial perspective as well. And charging is a big piece of that. We do really need to optimize the charging workflows. I described a little bit what the team is doing to really make those charging workflows as efficient as possible. And there are a lot of tasks that are involved. You sort of hit the nail on the head with things like sensor cleaning, data offload. There's a wide variety of other things that historically have been manual that we can automate in that charging cycle. And what that does is it allows the same operator who's working as sort of a depot staff operator to scale to many more cars and be able to put many more cars, allows our operation to put many more cars out onto the road more efficiently. So that's kind of the first level. I think your question was maybe more specific to, different charging costs different amounts at different times of day. I think first order of magnitude, it's really about making sure that we have the cars out on the road so we can service our customers at the right time.
Okay. So you're sort of like maybe not worrying so much about that, but optimizing for like, we need cars out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I don't want to say we're not worrying about it. I think it's more just like we think about like first order of magnitude problem, right? Solve the biggest problem first and then go on. And so I think that's a really important area that especially as we scale and we've done kind of the table stakes optimizations, we will certainly get to those and those will certainly be relevant.
Okay.
But, it's kind of on the roadmap, let's say.
Sort of related to that, do you guys do any sort of vehicle prioritizations? Like I understand like Uber has like heat maps for like where drivers could be needed. Do you guys also move like the fleet of Waymos to a specific part in the city, like at a certain time?
Yeah, I mean, in general, as like one of the teams here at Waymo is very focused on one of the teams which I collaborate, my team and I collaborate very closely with, is our demand team or our rider-facing team. And kind of in the middle of supply and demand is this idea that the vehicles need to be in the right place at the right time with a ride-hailing, real-time ride-hailing network. And so there's a ton of work that's happening there. Some of it is what you described as prepositioning, making sure cars are going to be at the right place, predicting demand. A lot of really cool forecasting problems that we're solving now about where is that demand going to be, where is it going to go, what are the car's needs going to be. I think a lot from the operation sides of, can we serve it with the charge available? And can we serve trips when the car is on the way to a charger? There's all kinds of really cool stuff that's happening there. That's more operationally focused, but of course, as you might imagine, there's a big demand or pricing component to it as well. There's a lot of interesting algorithms for how to match given that you have a set of cars and a set of passengers that need rides, what's the most efficient way to match them? So, huge areas of development for us and a lot of greenfield and exciting stuff that's happening in that space right now.
Okay, so I guess related to how that all works, you mentioned like if a vehicle doesn't have enough charge to take a ride, then it won't actually go and take the ride. And like I think people on stream have certainly noticed like sometimes like the vehicles sit there and then they say like they're low on battery and they have like an ID, or sometimes they have like an exclamation mark. Can you shed any light as to like what kind of situations like those indicators indicate?
Yeah, I mean, we're low on time. I think your live stream has the post is pretty close to accurate. Basically, there are ways for the cars to indicate that it needs a charge, and you can imagine that would be really useful, especially in our charging depots. Naturally, the cars, as they're sitting, they do consume power, and so they can get into that state where they need a charge, and they'll go off and they'll charge. There are other cases where there may be specific human attention that's required, and there's a way to indicate that. And then I think you guys rightly noticed the blue is like ready to go and ready to launch. So yeah, different.
So is the exclamation mark like human attention?
The exclamation part, I believe, is needs to go in charge.
Oh, okay.
As opposed to just
so it's like not disabled.
Not disabled.
No. Okay, cool. We are low on time. Rapid fire questions. Highway testing status.
What you've heard publicly is what I could say. We're testing now. Just on the freeway is really exciting.
Yeah, sure. Waymo Via.
Waymo Via. What about? I guess what can I say? We are doing a lot of local delivery. That's really been the focus of late.
Okay. And to close, I think a lot of people in Austin and LA really want to know when.
Now and now. We are expanding in LA pretty significantly. Obviously, it's not a fully open program yet. We're excited to work on that. I can't share a specific timeline. Same story in Austin.
Okay.
But both, yeah, exciting markets for us.
Okay.
Can I ask you a quick rapid fire question?
Yes, please.
How was the honking last night? Did we get the issue under control? Is it?
Yep, I think you did. Yeah, that Saturday night was that was quite a sight, but I think Sunday was pretty calm, and I do appreciate you guys getting right on that and fixing it.
Good. We feel the pain here at Waymo, so thank you again for the
Yeah,
opportunity to come out here and talk. Yeah, it's been a great chat.
absolutely. Vishay, thanks so much for joining. I really appreciate it. I think everybody in the live chat also are appreciating this conversation. Yeah, we've got 385 concurrent viewers. This conversation will be posted on YouTube later. I really appreciate you coming out here virtually. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thank you again for the opportunity. Take care.
Absolutely. Okay. So that was Vishay, the director of product for Waymo, and the guy who basically manages the team that does operations for Waymo. So I think right now we can take a look at the chat and see what is going on. Do you guys have any questions that you want to ask me? Maybe I can answer something. Vishay can't stay that long, but if you have any questions, just have at it. I'll try to answer it as best as I can. Oh, yeah, the smoke detector situation. So this is something that I actually personally experienced when I got into a car. At one point, I think it was a really heavy, strong smell of marijuana in the car. I think the idea, I don't know if the Waymo people are still watching, is that you would have some sort of particulate or smoke detector in the car, and that would sort of trigger the car to either pull over or basically say don't smoke in the car or something like that. I think that's a pretty good idea to implement. Where is Curry? He got angry and left. So he's not currently here right now, but maybe later he'll come back on this seat. Okay, if I could, would I work for Waymo? Hey, look, if they want to pay me to run this live stream as a service, I'm more than happy to do it. Waymo, you guys know where to call me. Give me a ring. Bring Vishay back. Yeah, I mean, if he wants to come back on the live stream, absolutely, super glad to have him. Maybe another time. Waymo, give me a ring. Federal air marshals. What? Bedtime in Europe. Hey, thanks Europe. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, tell you guys about micromobility. Sure. So I'm a big proponent for pedestrian safety. I love, this city, I think, is very uniquely walkable right now. It's very uniquely transitable. I love San Francisco for that. Micromobility, I mean, you take a look at the stream, outside, hundreds of scooter riders, bike riders, they go by every single day. I'm sure you guys can see that. I actually my sort of part-time job is running a micromobility company. The name is Meka, M-E-K-A. You can go look at the website at meka.works. We sort of design scooters, but sort of more as a vehicle replacement. That is, yeah, that's sort of my part-time job. If you guys are interested, go check it out. Let's see. Yeah, next time I'll have an interview with all the Waymos looping around me in the lot. I'm sure that will be quite the shot. It is very quiet. So I will say, San Francisco has this thing where it's like there's rush hour, and then there's pre-rush hour, and then there's pre-rush hour. And so pre-rush hour is like 3 p.m. So like all of these cars are basically like out in like pre-rush hour. And then I think you won't see them back until maybe like 7 or 8 p.m. or something when actual rush hour is over. So that's why it's so quiet out there. An average Waymo ride, like I think if you ride across like San Francisco, maybe like from here downtown to like Hayes Valley or something, it'll cost like maybe $12 to $15 when it's not surge pricing. They do have surge pricing. If you hit surge pricing, then it goes up to like $23 or like maybe even $30, especially because it's sort of like a tourist attraction nowadays. It's unfortunate for me maybe, but I guess fortunate for the tourists. Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably good for Waymo. I would like to think so. I hope Vishay had fun. I certainly did. Yeah, thanks Waymo for the ice cream. Really appreciate it. It was very good ice cream. But yeah, I think if you guys don't have any other questions, no, they did not offer me a discount. They did, however, give me 5 codes for free rides, and I've used 2 of them. Yeah, if you no more questions, I think we can sort of end this segment and we'll go back to our regularly scheduled lo-fi Waymo and music. Thanks, y'all.
All right, let me do a follow-up with you while you're here.
Yeah.
You stay right there. I'll just ask you a couple of questions. I'll be here. All right. All right.
I think they're very well thought out. I do think they are sort of the engineer's PR response. I would have maybe loved to get, if we had more time, I would have really loved to get more deep into the technicals. But I also understand like that's maybe not like so much his area of expertise, which is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, in general, I think that went pretty okay, pretty well.
You've been experiencing the honking since July.
End of July, yes.
Yeah. What do you think of their overall response in replying to you now? I mean, it took a while for them to actually hear you, right?
Yes, I think that is an issue. So I understand like a few neighbors like went to their contact form and tried to reach out to them that way. They didn't actually get a response to begin with, which is probably not the best. But I think we sort of collectively made so big of a media kerfuffle of it that then it warranted a response from them, which like props to them for fixing it so quick after they did get a response.
Because there was a fix. You mentioned this on the stream. There was a fix, and then there was another problem. Then there was a fix.
Yes.
Then there was another problem.
Yes. And now I assume there's a third fix, I guess. That's what they tell me. So we'll see if this fix works. Honestly, I don't imagine what else could go wrong, but you never know. So
how does it feel being now the conduit by which Waymo is officially speaking?
how do I feel being the conduit? It's sort of weird because I'm not a PR person. I am not by trade an interviewer. I am very much an introvert, and I don't necessarily like talking to new people. That being said, I do like talking to new people if they're going to talk to me about technical stuff and like the stuff that I was interested in. So like the operations, like how like the vehicles worked, like what they do when they do path planning and stuff. That is interesting to me. So, I Mm.
I mean, you generously invited us into your home to be able to. You have conducted an interview with Waymo
Yes.
for what is very clearly an important situation that they were having to deal with.
Yeah.
You're very generously inviting us in to be able to watch that happen.
Yeah. I don't know. Why did I do that?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Job search is hard.
Job search is hard. Waymo, hire me.
I would imagine. I mean, well, really, you're someone who started out just being woken up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, honestly, like that was the main thing. Like I got a little bit frustrated, and I was like, I'll just put soothing music over it.
Yeah.
That was it.
We couldn't hear, and I'm going to be able to review it, right? Because we recorded the whole thing, and we're going to respond. We're going to, look at the answer. But you asked him pointedly. So, do they not talk to each other? And what was his response? And are you satisfied with that response?
His response was very PR, but basically he said no, they don't actually talk to each other. They talk to each other in a very roundabout way, which is basically they phone home, and then home decides what to do, and then it sends out to the next vehicle. I was asking, I think very pointedly, like, are they considering like ultra wideband support between the two cars? Like, are they thinking about like vehicle to vehicle communication? He basically said it's not a priority, but of course they're thinking about it, which means at least in the tech world, they haven't really thought about it.
I love that you can translate this too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything I'm not asking that you want to mention?
If you're in San Francisco, come try it out. It is a tourist attraction. I think it's San Francisco's 8th wonder of the city. They're cool. I don't think there's like a whole lot to be scared about. And thanks, Waymo, for doing the interview with me.
When it comes down to how you feel about Waymo's technology before all of this and after, how has that changed or has it changed?
I don't think it's changed dramatically. I sort of knew a lot of what was going on just by virtue of having friends who work at Waymo, and also like you sort of intuit just by watching behavior, like a lot of what is happening. Like I basically already knew like they weren't communicating with each other. Like you can see that just by watching the cars, right? I mean, Lidar is clearly working for them, and clearly vision-based is not working with some other unnamed companies. Like, I was already pretty confident with how the technology performed around like me as a pedestrian, or like around me as like a bike rider or like a scooter rider. Like just by being around them, like I've experienced that. So not really changed. Maybe more confident, I guess, that they basically know what they're doing. And like from an engineering perspective, it was extremely interesting to see like what they're prioritizing and what they're not.
As a corporate entity,
Yes.
what do you think before and then going through this experience and then now what you just experienced?
Before, Waymo, as a corporate entity, not anybody individually in Waymo, I think they were maybe being a little bit too quiet. I understand the internal sort of mantra was, if we're not in the news, we're doing pretty okay. I think that should maybe not really be the corporate mantra. Like I think a lot of like hesitation and fear around like Waymo the company is because they're not very chatty or very public about like what they do. If they had changed that like a little bit, if they're more outgoing. I know they came into the stream chat at like some point and they were like, hey, like, sorry, our cars were like honking. They were just too excited about the future. Like, it's corny, but like being in the space where other people are, I think that is very effective. And if you can sort of play that the right way, I think there will be less hesitation around Waymo the company.
Good to know. Yeah.
Cool.
Welcome to Silicon Valley tech.
Oh,
and
God.
covering the media, 'cause